I've got 5 bourbon hunting tips that you're going to want to learn about. Bourbon hunting can be exhausting and tricky and frustrating, but here's some things that might help you out a little bit. Hey everybody, I'm Tim the Suburban Dad, here to help you dads find some great bourbon. So bourbon hunting, it takes time, it takes energy, effort, and of course some money. So along my journey, I've learned a few things that hopefully will be beneficial to you also, so that way you can find the bottles you're looking for. First off, when you get into a store, first thing I look at are some benchmark or some reference bottles that kind of give me a sense of the pricing or the atmosphere of the store. One of those bottles is Old Forester 1920. This is a bottle that's everywhere. Every store should really have it. It's pretty standard. And the price on that should be between 55 to 60 bucks. That's kind of the sweet spot. If it's below 55 bucks, whoa, that's a great deal. If it's above 60 bucks, then you're looking at a store that's probably pricing things too high. Another standard is Knob Creek 9-year small batch. Now the price on this one has gone up across the board in recent times. It should be between 30, 33 bucks, somewhere in there. Below that, great buy. Above 35 bucks, ooh, that's a sign to pack it up. Lately, Larceny Barrel Proof has been sitting on the shelves. That one should be anywhere from 60 to 70-ish bucks. If you find it for less than 60, nice. Above 70, and whoa, that's definitely getting out of hand for Larceny Barrel Proof. These are not a guarantee that the store owners aren't going to try and price gouge on more special bottles, but generally speaking, if these bottles are in the right range, it's a pretty good setup. Next thing to look for is how do they handle their allocated bottles? Do they just put them out on the shelf? Do they keep them behind the counter? Do they keep them locked up? Usually if they're behind the counter, that's an absolute giveaway that the prices are going to be up high. If they're on the shelf, could be a mixed bag. Maybe they're running a deal. Maybe it's priced a little higher up to secondary. Or maybe they're just an awesome store and they just put it out on the shelf for whoever to grab. That's the ideal scenario to me. Sometimes you'll go in a store, you'll see a lot of cool bourbons, but you won't see anything allocated at all. That's usually an indicator that the store owner is hiding it somewhere in the back. Maybe he's keeping it for his regulars. Maybe he's just waiting for someone to care enough to ask about it. Maybe he's holding them for a raffle. So whether or not you see allocated bottles out visibly in the store is not a great indicator one way or the other. About pricing, you just got to do a little bit more investigating. So if you don't see any allocated bottles and you're really looking for something in particular, just ask. Talk to the manager or the store owner. All you have to say is, hey, how do you guys handle your allocated bottles? And they'll tell you. Oh, well, we keep those for our regulars. Oh, we do that in a raffle. Oh, what are you looking for? If they ask what you're looking for, try and be specific. Don't just say, oh, well, anything interesting. They probably don't want to rattle off their whole list, but if you got something in particular, it's better to be straightforward about it. Especially at a store that's not strictly liquor store, like a grocery store. If you talk to the liquor manager there, they're more likely to feed you a little bit more information. So you might go fishing a little bit more, like, oh, just looking for any interesting bottles. And oftentimes I get them rattle off a list of bottles that I may or may not be interested in, but they're not as invested in the bourbon because it's part of a larger store that sells other stuff. If it's a liquor store, they're more in tune with what kind of bottles are special and pricing that they want to sell for. Now, as I'm talking to you guys, I'm getting a little thirsty. I'm going to dive into a very special bottle that I've not had in a while. This is Elijah Craig Barrel Proof C923. This is a really special batch. So this leads me to point number 3, communication. Communication is super important. Anytime I go to a liquor store that seems to be legit, they've got good pricing, they've got a solid selection, I want to chat it up with the owner or the manager. Because hey, who knows what could come of that relationship, or even just chatting. One time I was traveling through Illinois, this was several years ago, times have changed. But I was traveling through Illinois and I stopped at this store, I'd never been there before, and I picked up a couple cheap bottles. It was Smoke Wagon straight bourbon, and I set them on the counter and I just got to talking to the owner, and out of the blue, He offers, hey, would you like to buy a Stag Junior? Yeah. So hey, you never know what kind of relationship you could build even right then and there. And again, just ask them how they handle their allocations. The worst they can say is they don't have any, or they're not going to sell them to you. And then you just know, okay, hey, no problem. You just leave if that's what you're looking for, or you can see if there's a way to negotiate. Another subcategory for communication is social media. So if you're on Facebook, look up some local bourbon groups. I'm sure they're out there, just other guys, gals who are interested in bourbon and bourbon hunting, who are willing to share when they find cool bottles. I get a lot of inside tips all the time from Facebook. People posting pictures of bottles that are dropping around me, and so I'm able to pick up on, hey, I need to get to the store right now, grab it. That bottle is magnificent. Start, build rapport with the store owner or manager is buy stuff from the store. And in terms of liquor stores specifically, their store pick bottles are key. If you go to a liquor store and they've got a lot of store picks there, that is a great sign. They're going to be a lot more into bourbon. They're going to be interested in bringing cool, unique bottles to their customers. And they're heavily invested in those store picks. So if you buy one of those, that shows that you care, you're interested in what they're doing as a store, and you're supporting them specifically. So it's a great way to build rapport. And last but not least, actually, this is probably the most important. Timing is huge.
Sometimes they say huge.
Super important. If you can find out when a store gets their deliveries, that's going to set you up way far ahead. If you're not there on or near delivery day, chances of getting that bottle you want are going to go down real quick. Sunday and Mondays are the worst days to go bourbon hunting. Most deliveries happen Tuesday through Friday. I'm sure there's some exceptions out there, but that's been my experience, Tuesday through Friday. Bigger stores like Total Wine, they can get deliveries every day, if not multiple times a day. There's a Total Wine right by my house. I know that anytime I stop by, there's a chance I might find something special. A lot of times I don't, but there's always that possibility. Whereas if it's a small liquor store or even a grocery store, they usually have 1 or 2 specified delivery days during the week. And if it's first come, first serve, you're going to want to be able to jump right on it exactly when it gets there. So what's the bourbon hunting scene like where you are? I'm here near St. Louis, Missouri, a little further west, St. Charles County. There is a lot of cool bottles around, but there's also a lot of people who are interested in those cool bottles, so they tend to go pretty quick. But in general, there's a very big selection in this area. Is it hard to get allocated bottles where you are? Is there a limited selection? Are you in a state-run area? Tell me about it. Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you. Until next time, cheers.